It is 18 minutes past 8 now. People claiming long-term sickness benefits will be required to look for work, with some claimants facing potential cuts of up to £5,000 a year. It's all part of the government desperately trying to bring down the huge benefits bill. Let's speak to Deven Ghelani, who is director of the Policy and Practice think tank and an architect of Universal Credit. Good morning to you, Deven.
Morning.
As you read the piece in the Times today talking about the desire to help people to get back to work, the idea to get people off benefits, to cut benefits, do you think that this, one, is a sensible approach and two, is a practical approach that can actually be applied?
Great questions. I think it's a sensible approach, but practically it's going to be incredibly difficult to deliver in a sensible way. And the main reason for that is you're seeing very similar tensions that we saw during austerity, actually, between the Treasury and the Department for Work and Pensions, where the Treasury wants savings today. And actually, some of the reforms that have been put forward, there's nothing necessarily bad about them, but they take time. It takes time to support people who are out of work into work. It takes time to reform the system in a reasonable way that, again, slows the movement of people who are sick from staying sick and ending up sick for a long time. So actually, these reforms take time. And I think it's critical that the government doesn't push for knee-jerk responses to save money. That was effectively the approach that we saw under the previous government to a certain extent, and that's why it was criticised. The government said they'd put forward reforms and achieve these savings in a better way. Some of what they've suggested should do that, actually. Support for young people who are out of work. There've been some success around talking therapies. There's a push toward devolution, funded support to devolution. So trailblazer initiatives to tackle economic activity and youth employment to see what works. But again, these things don't happen overnight. It's a tough job. And actually, I think Liz Kendall needs to be given some time to deliver these savings in show that she can deliver these savings in a much more reasonable way.
The Times reports today, and indeed we've had our own listeners getting in touch this morning with their own real-life examples, saying the problem often is that people may want to get back to work, but they fear if they go into work, and if they've been out of work for a long time, it can be a frightening thing to go back to work. If that doesn't work out, they fear that they're going to lose all of their benefits. And so they go, do you know what, I'm just not going to try because I'm too scared about that. How do you develop a system that supports those people back into work but still gives them a safety net in case it doesn't work out?
Yeah, we've written about this, and actually I think the first thing you have to do is find a way to stop people from ending up in that position in the first place. So today you've got quite a binary system because of reforms from actually 2017 when you saw these numbers jump up, where you've got effectively you're either well enough to work or you're too sick and can't work. And actually there's a middle group where you were sick for a short time, but you'd still kind of have to re-engage regularly. And kind of the reasons for being on that group have been taken away because the protections you got and some additional money you got have been taken away. And actually kind of ensuring that there's some either reintroducing that intermediate group or having something like statutory sick pay, which stops people from becoming long-term sick in the first place, would be really helpful. I think it's also partly down to kind of inability to access health support in a timely way. And I think some investment in and access to health support, mental health support in particular for younger people, would make a really big difference. But as you say, I think kind of if you have been long-term sick, that is much harder. It has always been much harder to get someone who's been out of work for a long time back into work. And I really think there's also another really important group of people here who are too sick to work, are going to stay too sick to work. And actually, it's really important you don't put unnecessary and frankly pointless kind of conditions upon them to re-engage. And I'm not saying these reforms will, but I think it's important that group of people are protected.
One thing I was quite surprised by reading the Times article is almost 1 in 4 people of working age now say they have a disability. Is it, and I can imagine some of our listeners right now will be shouting at the radio going, it's too easy to go on benefits. It's too easy to say I can't work. Is it too easy? How rigorous is that assessment process?
Well, I think it's fair to say that assessment process isn't working for anybody. It's not working for claimants. They come back with some awful stories of how they felt, kind of the fear they feel in going through this process. Will they be judged rightly, wrongly, no one wants to be told they're too sick to work, really. I mean, I think there's something about like how that process works, which is doesn't work for the claimant. Numbers have gone up, so it actually hasn't stopped people from ending up on disability benefits. So it's not worked for the government or for taxpayers. And it doesn't make any sense as well. So if you look at it, the original intent behind some of these reforms was to have conversations with people as they are sick to say, actually, is it your health condition or is it other things that we can help to fix? Like so behavioral psychosocial, it's called, where perhaps you've had to leave your job because you did get too sick through anxiety because you had a terrible manager. Okay, well, that doesn't mean that you can't actually find.
Yeah, it's not. It means it's not relevant to every job, and I appreciate that. Deven, thank you so much. That's Deven Ghelani, Director of Policy in Practice think tank.
This